All right, so this is chapter 58. Shout out, do not hold back. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. Announce to my people their rebellion, to the house of Jacob their sins. Yet day after day they seek me and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that practiced righteousness and did not forsake the ordinances of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near God. Why do we fast, but you do not see? Why humble ourselves, but you do not notice? Lord, you serve your own interest on your fast day and oppress all your workers. Look, you fast only to quarrel and fight, and to strike with a wicked fist. Such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard on high. Is such the fast that I choose, a day to humble oneself? Is it to bow down the head like a bulrush and lie in sackcloth and ashes? Will you call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I choose, to loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them, and not hide yourself from your own kin? Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall quickly spring up. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, Here I am. If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom be like noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places, and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water, whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. This is God's word from the Old Testament. Do you hear? The people are calling to God, why don't you hear us when we fast? Why don't you hear us when we call to you? And God says, you're not fasting for me, you're doing it for yourselves so that you can argue with each other. I love that. You fast only to quarrel and fight and strike with a wicked fist. How many people that we know that call themselves Christians use Christianity to beat other people over the head with it? That is not what God is calling us to do. He's calling us instead to share our bread with the hungry, bring the homeless poor into our house. When we see the naked, to cover them. That's when our light will shine forth. That's what we're called to do. And Jesus reaffirms this in the scripture, in the gospel, which comes from Matthew 5, let's see if I can get this right, 13 through 20. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of these least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And this is God's word for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God. Now that last line, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees. Unless we are more righteous than the religious leaders, we will never enter the kingdom of heaven. We're doomed. Wait. The scribes and the Pharisees in the New Testament were not all that righteous, were they? They were like the people in the Isaiah reading, weren't they? They were yelling and screaming and telling God, look here I am, I'm wonderful, I am doing your will, I'm following all your commandments. You keep the dirty people out because they don't belong here. Those people didn't pay their tithe, they don't belong here. Those people didn't follow what we said were the rules, they don't belong here. The scribes and the Pharisees were all about keeping people out. They were all about using religion as a gate to keep God in the inside of the gate with them and to keep other people on the outside. And Jesus turned that upside down. Right? We talked about that last week, I think, that God's ways are not our ways. And so what we think is righteousness isn't what God thinks is righteousness. And so those scribes and those Pharisees who were using religion as a block to people, that was human thinking. That wasn't God's thinking. Jesus says, come to everybody. He says that everybody should be there. But what is it that we're supposed to do? Last week we learned that our job is to do good, well, what it was Wesley said, right? Do all the good you can. Do no harm. Do all the good you can and stay in love with God. Micah told us to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. How do we do that? This morning's readings flesh that out a little bit. We're supposed to take care of other people. We're supposed to take care of the people who the world has forgotten. Because God's ways are not, our ways are not God's ways. We, as humans, would marginalize the marginalized, right? That's why we call them marginalized. Because they're on the fringes. And we like them to stay there because they're kind of smelly and they're kind of dirty and they don't do what we want. You know, we want to keep out those people. My grandmother. I loved my grandmother dearly. My grandmother was an awesome woman. Some of you guys knew my grandmother, right? She cracked me up. She would have been right along with what's going on politically. She said, keep those immigrants out. They don't belong here. This is our country. I said, Grandma, you were an immigrant. She was born in Europe. How could you do that? How could you? Because we see others as other, right? We see others as different. I was reading the paper this morning. 100 years ago, in 1917, the United States passed this immigration thing. Now, I'm not going to talk politics, but it's interesting that they were about keeping them out too. People were scared. World War I was breaking out in Europe, and people were afraid, so they want to keep the other people out. Keep them out, because then we'll be safe. Do we do that? Do we keep other people out? Are we keeping other people out of our church? I don't know. There's just us here. It's hard to say. It's hard to say who's here, right? Who we're keeping out. It's just us. And I know that you guys are telling people about your faith. I know that you're telling people and that they see reflected in your lives the glory. But as a church, are we welcoming people in? I don't know. I don't know. And so I challenge you, as you leave this morning, look back at the church. Look back and see, would somebody that didn't belong here, somebody that didn't already know about this place, would they come here? Could they even see it? I don't think they can see it. One of the ladies, Reverend Shoemake Keller, that was here to talk about Epworth back months ago, do you remember? She couldn't find it because the mess next door was so bad, when she drove past, she couldn't even see it. So maybe we need to talk to the lady next door and see if we can clean up the mess when it gets, well, the weather's a little nicer. I don't know that I want to do it today. It was 40 degrees yesterday, it was cold. But is our church inviting? Are we reaching out? Are we a city on a hill? Have we lit our light so that it shines out and others can see it? Are we keeping our light hidden? I don't know. I can't answer that for you. I think probably for me, I am a lot. Because, it's hard to talk about religion to people that you associate with, right? What do you say? So do you go to church? That's hard to say to people. We've met people that do that. And sometimes those people put you off, right? Who was telling me? Jason was telling me that there's a guy that he works with, and the first thing he says, "Hi, my name is," whatever it is, "I'm a Christian." I guess that's good if he acts like one. Too oftentimes, though, in our world, when we see people that do that, they act in ways that are contrary to that. They're acting like the scribes and the Pharisees. They're pushing people out. They're saying, "I'm a Christian. I'm in the club. You, I'm not so sure about." Last week we sang that song, "Jesus, Friend of Sinners." It talks about make me think about the people at the end of my pointing fingers. You know, we are too quick as a nation, as human beings, to point to others and say, "You are not like me. You are other." That's not, the light shines on everybody, right? If we're the light on the hill, we're shining on everybody. And so God is calling us to do His will. God is calling us to be His people. What does that mean? We hear it. We hear Him say that. We're listening to that. But do we hear it? Do we understand? Are we following through with it? It occurred to me this week, and I almost wrote a blog about it. We've got that blog function on the website, and I haven't used it much yet. I'm sort of scared to blog. But I was gonna write a blog about Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day was this week, right? Groundhog Day. The most famous thing about Groundhog Day these days is the movie Groundhog Day, the Bill Murray movie, right? That's what people associate with Groundhog Day, right? If you haven't seen the movie, he wakes up, he's a reporter, and he's going to this little town. Have you seen it? When he goes to this little town, he's going to report on Groundhog Day. He goes to Puxatawney, right, or wherever that is in Pennsylvania. He's going to report on Groundhog Day. And bad things, he's kind of a jerk. So bad things happen to him, and he wakes up the next morning, and it's the same day. And he relives that day over and over. And so Groundhog Day has become a euphemism in our culture for reliving the same thing over and over. And clearly the moral to the movie is that until he gets it right, he has to keep doing it over. And so he re-examines who he is and how he treats people and how he lives his life. And when he figures it out, then he can move on. It occurred to me, as I was thinking about Groundhog Day in that movie, that my relationship with the Lord can be like that. I feel like I come to church every week and it's the same thing. And I do the same things and I say the same things, but I'm not moving on past that. Why not? I'm not getting something right. What is it that I'm not getting right? That I need to do to move on out of this rut that I'm in. You know, that coming to church on Sunday is a good thing. I prepare my sermons, I get all ready to go, and I come, and I feel like I say the same thing every week. What am I missing? What am I not getting a hold of? I'm Bill Murray stuck in that movie. It's the same thing every time. And so we need that grace that we prayed about, that amazing grace to flow down on us, because it's through God's grace that we will figure out where those flaws in us are, that we will be able to move beyond those things and go on to live in the way that God created us to be the light on the hill. See, to be the light on the hill, yeah, we're supposed to feed the poor, the homeless, take care of the people that don't have, but most of all, we're supposed to be that light of Christ that is in us, that shines out. If we are that light, people will see it. And that's what we need to be. I don't want to be the salt that's lost its saltiness. I don't want to be Bill Murray stuck in that movie. I want to be full of the light and the life of Christ, so that I can take that life and that light to others. I want to not just listen to what God is telling me, but I want to hear what it is that I need to be doing, and I want to change my life to make it so. Amen.